Hey y'all. Well, we made it through Monday, I guess. If you're watching this, you did. Maybe not any worse for wear, but another good week is well underway. You know, last week we was talking about Tuesdays and how they didn't maybe have anything special, but the more I thought about it, I guess they do have some things that are special. Of course, you vote on Tuesdays normally, but heard a plane overhead this evening, and that's not a really rare occurrence necessarily in East Texas, and if you live in a metro area, you hear them all the time. This one kind of stood out. I don't know why I caught myself thinking about it, but couldn't help but go back to a certain Tuesday that we'll remember a couple of weeks from now, on September 11th of 2001. It's funny, it falls on Tuesday again this year, 17 years later, but I've always, as most of you always think about that day, and what was more telling was September the 12th and how we was all united. I think y'all remember that. I think we'd do well to continue to unite amidst our differences of color, religion, or political belief, and just be good old-fashioned Americans again. But I couldn't help but think about Tuesdays when that plane flew over as I was tending the garden, and we'll remember it with a lot of gravity this year, as we do every year. A lot of lives were changed that day, even among the living, you and I included. But Tuesday has come and gone today, and we're here on the place again, and things are about normal. Kind of get a little more serious about this chicken house, putting some roosts up. Got an egg, if you will. And my cousin that was here over a decade ago, he ran a pretty big pullet operation, so we've got a lot of equipment in there. It's just aged and dirty, and I've started pulling it out, and we're gonna go through and clean it and see if we can't make a halfway decent little chicken laying operation out of this thing yet. I think George's about to come pull off one of these watermelons. We've got a few that will pass for being ready. They didn't quite get as big as I wanted them, but that's all right. They'll eat just as good. Them old rain clouds over there on the horizon just teasing me. Hadn't got any yet, but so we just keep on throwing the Lake Nacogdoches water on it. I guess that's where it comes from. Whatever comes out that hose, that's what's getting on the garden. But started to show y'all last week. I went over, I guess it was Saturday, and visited with my aunt. Of course, she is one of 3 sisters originally from this place. Always had a green thumb, and all of them raised a garden and things of that nature. But she took hers a little different route here in the last 30, 40 years. And beautiful yard, hundreds and hundreds of azaleas, and she's always been our go-to for anything in the horticulture world of landscaping. Went over there and helped her with a couple little projects, and I've been needing something for the front of the house. And Mima used to have an old camellia on the edge of the porch here. That thing was huge. I mean, it was all the way up to the roof. It's been cut down and gone for a long time. But thought we got a couple of little sago palms here in the front, and I think they're going to look okay to kind of polish off the front of the place. I was pretty proud of that. I think my sister has got her eye on 1 or 2. Of course, if y'all have ever raised them, you know they have little pups that come off of them, and that's what I was doing, was cleaning those off. So I've got a bucket full here if anybody wants. But see, Jordan made it to the front porch. He's got a little treasure in his hand. Of course, I've got all those white broilers that are designed for meat, and hard-headed as I am, got them for free, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And they're getting a little older, and they're going to lay along the way. But to really have productive layers, you do have to stick within the laying breeds. And couldn't help but the other evening, we got us a couple little critters here. Jordan's got one of them. Look at there. That's a little Rhode Island red. So those rascals are good layers. Got them and some Dominiques, I think about 4 each. And they're actually in the radio studio. How about that? Inside the house. I think it's about a week old. But thought I'd start a little small, and I would imagine as we move forward, we'll brood them out right out of the nest with some of these other. Those will probably be future mamas for it's probably a pretty big chicken herd according to this house out here. That's another thing. Them white broilers designed for meat, they can eat some food. And I've learned that the hard way. I was going through some boxes. I don't know if any of y'all were in FFA in school. I'm sure a lot of you were if you was exposed to anything of agriculture reasons, but I raised a couple of animals, and one of my favorite projects was a lamb that we called him Champ, and he proved his worth at show and brought a pretty good little lick of money for schooling and other things. And of course he'd follow you around like a dog. The part I hated worst about that whole class, of course I'm weird like that I guess, was that record book. Y'all ever have to do that? Teaching you how to keep records on all the expense with the lamb and what went into it and profit and loss type thing. Now in retail I learned how to do all that profit and loss business, but that record book, man, that was just my nemesis. I could not keep up with every little receipt that I spent on that lamb. But those skills, Mr. Oliphant and Miss Hedrick, Mr. Johnson would be pretty proud of me, because I'm going to do that with these chicks. Make sure that we're doing a profitable venture as we move forward. So keeping the receipts, keeping up with the expense of it. I think most of it's just in the equipment, and that's already here, so why waste it, right? So we'll give that a shot. Hey, let's check off, see who all's on this evening. I'm sure some of y'all are getting rain if you're anywhere close to me by the looks of those clouds. Miss Hattie's on. My good buddy Brad is tuned in. How are you, brother? Allison, how are you this evening? Got Phil, another good buddy up in Mountain Enterprise, I believe. Hey, Hattie. Yeah. Well, just been busy the last few days, and sometimes life takes precedence over this kind of stuff, I guess. There's Pat and Russell. Hey, Russell, how are you? My, let me see, let me make sure I don't get in trouble here. My favorite cousin that lives on Woden Road. Yeah, I can say that. Donna's watching. How are you? And Don. Yeah, that's right, Hattie, about the 12th. No, Phil, I hadn't got any rain. I'm trying to catch up here, guys. I haven't got, I think I've got a 16th, maybe, of rain in the last month and a half. All these little storms that come through somehow miss this old place. No, Karen, unfortunately, I haven't had any rain. That dark spot on that garden is courtesy of a little sprinkler going out there. At least we've had some reprieve from the sun, so we'll be thankful for that. Hattie said she was teaching 3rd grade on September 11th. Hey, Chris, the pirate of Lafayette's on. Hey, Terry, how are you? My buddy Chris in Huntsville. Goodness, I got to catch up here. My good buddy Glenn Smikle. Not even sure where he's living now, but a good close friend back in, I guess that would have been my 20s. Brother, we're getting old down in the Liberty Dayton area. Good to see you, buddy. Got to catch up for too long. That's a good one, Brad. Brad said those chickens will fit in with the rest of the squawker that goes on in that studio. I guess you're right, sir. I guess you're right. Well, there's my daughter Faith on, so I guess it'd be good time to go out here. And I was going to plant the bean part of the Three Sisters little project we got going on. It's a little friendly competition between Faith and my sister Kim, and I didn't get to plant those Sundays, so I've got them. I'll plant them this evening. I want to get that ground moist. But we've got 2 plots, and for those of you who don't know, real quick, the Three Sisters method is developed by the Iroquois, who's been credited back in when the Pilgrims came over or whatever. But it wasn't necessarily about the Pilgrims. That's how they farmed. They would the natives would grow corn, and then after it sprouted, they'd put beans on the outside of it, which would use the corn stalks for their vining. Then on the outside of that would be squash or pumpkins or whatever. So we're doing the same thing. And Kimberly and my daughter Faith planted 2 plots, and they're seeing whose does better. And looks like both of them are on. Oh, cool, Glenn, still in Dayton. All right, there's Kimberly's plot, and here's Faith's plot. They're both doing quite well. Nobody panic. So we've got just about 100% germination on the seeds we put in, so I'll have to thin to make sure that the rest of the plants, I'm going to transplant one each of these 2 stalks, see if it'll transplant, but if nothing else, it's got to come up. But a little chicken litter, fertilizer on it. One thing I thought that was interesting, that if y'all remember early on, I'd put out hills of watermelons out here, and they just did not germinate this late in the year. The tin was to block the grass around it. Anyway, it was a weird theory I had, but long story short, they didn't germinate. So I dug that up and put the corn plots here, and lo and behold, one of those 2-month-old watermelon seeds has come up next to the corn. I don't think that's quite how the natives did it, but we'll see what. But tonight I'll plant the beans, and they should be sprouted in a few days. But anyway, looking good. I did plant a plot as well, and that's my plot right here. So isn't that something? On the same day, the teacher, if you will, his plot didn't come up at all. But then I got a bigger plot over here, so I'm winning. Corn and peas are looking good, but got the tomato plant set out. Potatoes should be coming on here pretty quick. Well, went a little long this evening, but it's been a few days since we've been on. Had a few updates to spit out there, I guess. But another beautiful sunset happening. I don't want to miss it. I've learned to start cherishing those a little bit more, and plan to continue to do that. But y'all hug someone you love and tell them they matter, and make it count tomorrow. It's peak of the week, as my sister says, so we will enjoy it. How about that? I'm gonna go check on these little baby biddies. Hudson has been introduced, nobody panic, and we're all good there. But they got to keep their distance, but they should grow up to be friends. But we'll make sure of that. Y'all have a good evening, and as always, be the light, make a difference. It matters. See y'all later.